Let's pivot into the main topic of this podcast today, and that is, man, FMOs and IMOs, secrets revealed. I've said this a lot on the pod this year, but man, where do we start with a topic like this? There's so many directions we could go with this. What comes to mind, Glenn, when you hear that?
The first thing that came to mind when I was really thinking about this topic, which I'm still jelly of your microphone, by the way. I feel like I don't sound as good. Whenever I listen back to the audio, I know I'm busy. I'm too busy to buy my own microphone.
Do you want me to buy it for you? Do you want me to place the order for you?
Let's have someone from the company buy it. You don't need to buy it.
Let's just do it. Like,
I want you to be the one to click it.
I have one here at the office and at the home office. I have two.
That's like legit. I'm looking at the connector right now. That's like a legit microphone. Like that's what you would use, like if you're like emceeing an event style microphone, right?
Yeah. I mean, from my understanding, this is the microphone that is used on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh, Joe recommended it to you. Did you talk to him?
I did. No. No, I just, did some research and it's commonly used on big pods. It's a very,
you sound great. Your audio always sounds super crisp whenever I'm listening back to the audio. I don't think my microphone's bad. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to end up talking about microphones for 20 minutes here. So first thing I think about with FMOs and IMOs secrets revealed, one of the first things that comes to mind that I personally had to deal with one of my first uplines, and I've seen this happen many, many times before, is an IMO or FMO that tries to contractually obligate an agent through a non-compete, where they will say something along the lines of, when you sign this agreement to become an agent at, our company, to be a downline agent, etc., whatever, that you are now locked into this non-compete where you can't sell insurance for 2 or 3 years, whatever, if you choose to leave.
Which is
that
crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. And again, it's essentially a mental tactic, right? Essentially, they are trying to keep you from leaving by scaring you into thinking that your insurance license cannot be used if you choose to leave for a certain amount of time. That is not legal. And even if they were to try to legally uphold a contract like that, it would never get anywhere. There's no judge in America that I'm aware of that would be like, oh yeah, you can't sell insurance because you signed this agreement that nullifies your ability for the next few years. So that's one thing top of mind where I'm like, that's something that a lot of agents might read in a contract and think, oh wow, I can't leave unless I'm willing to stop selling insurance for several years. And it's just not true.
Yeah. I mean, your FMO, I'll say this on the record, has no ability to affect your license at all. The only power that they have is to either release or not release your contracts, or they can terminate your contracts, right? Like they have control on your contract with the carrier. But when it comes to your license is yours, even if they paid for it, right? You can do whatever you want with it.
Right.
And so that's what agents need to be aware of. Now, if you sign something, the thing about non-competes, right? Like if you're working as, say, an LOA or something like that, you sign a non-compete. A lot of times, LOAs will sign non-competes and non-solicitations, amongst other things. But non-competes, really, especially now, over the last couple of years, they've really kind of had a death blow to them, legally, right? Like they just don't really hold up. They prevent people from working. Non-solicitations do, however. They say, any business you write for a company, you can't go back and churn it. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't. That's not an ethical thing to do, in my opinion, because they, chances are, invested a lot of money, time, and resources into helping you acquire that business, right? But there should be nothing to stop you from, even if they won't release you, you can, with Medicare contracts anyway, with most Medicare Advantage companies, you can put in a self-release, wait 90 days, and move, as long as you're not in a blackout period, which is like in the last quarter of the year. And so Now, like med sup contracts are a little different. Like some ancillary product companies, final expense companies are kind of different. You typically either have to go 6 months from when you contracted or 6 months from when you wrote business. So, like, let's say I remember we talked to somebody during AEP last year. They're trying to move some med sup contracts, and they had gone 8 months since they contracted. So ideally, they've been able to move without a release. They just were in a situation where they couldn't get a release from their FMO, right? But they had just done an app 2 weeks ago, their first app with the carrier. So it's like, okay, you either wait another 6 months or you get a release. Those are your options.
Brutal.
You know what I mean? And I've always found that fascinating to me, that there's still carriers and product lines out there that will almost like punish you for producing. Because that's really what it is. It makes it to where you can't move as easy without a release if you're producing, and they reward you if you're not producing. It's so crazy and backwards. Early on, Medicare Advantage contracts were that way. Like the biggest carrier out there, I won't say any names, they used to make you wait a year without a release.